sorts of stupid questions during the weekend, and I have had a whole string of strange questions that I'm totally unable to answer, and I'm now burgling until Richard comes back in. I have had a whole string of questions that I'm totally unable to answer because we have a wind generator outside. And people say, now, can you tell me exactly how many megahertz or megawatts or something it does? I haven't a bloody clue. I don't even know how a wind turbine works. And trust me guys, I don't care. However, apparently an awful lot of you people in the audience do. So I'm going to bring up my next door neighbour, who happens to be the chairman of Village Hall, but because he is my next door neighbour and I have been taking the mick out of him for many years, Richard is going to extemporise an introduction.
You might know this gentleman as Mr. Rickard, but to the world in general he's better known by his old Victorian musical name of Parking Chops. And he used to do a wonderful old musical act that he's going to recreate here today. It's Parking Chops and his Meat Cavalcade. Right.
Stuart Rickard.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. That's probably the weirdest introduction I've ever had. But what do you expect on a weekend like this? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, a belated welcome to Woolsbury Community Hall. We're very proud of this establishment. As Richard was saying, I'm the Chairman of Trustees, is the correct title. The hall is run by a group of trustees from all the organisations within the village. And we meet once a month and we sort out the problems and we deal with the issues that go with running an establishment like this. But I've been asked, as you know, to talk about the wind turbine, but also want to talk about there's three renewable energy sources in the building. One you can't see, the other one you may have seen, and of course the one that everybody sees is the wind turbine. So I'll start with that. When we first built the hall, people said to us, why can't we put in some renewable energy? Why can't we do some carbon saving? Carbon saving wasn't around when we were making the plans in '97. Nobody had heard of carbon footprint really. And although we knew about renewables and trying to cut down energy, it actually wasn't viable. When we did the sums, the money we would have to spend would take an awful long time to recover. As you know, things have changed a lot since then. So in the last, November last year, we put in the photovoltaics, which you may see, when it's not raining, on the far side of the building. If you walk out into the car park and then look to your left, you'll see the photovoltaic cells on there. The wind turbine was put up in February, and we have one that you can't see, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The wind turbine is a 6 kilowatt turbine. It stands, I think it's 15 metres, and it's generating electricity, which we're using right now, and also any surplus electricity is being sold back to the grid. I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it, but we're very lucky to have the government's support of things called ROCs, I don't know if you know them, Renewable Energy Option Certificates, which means that the government will actually pay us for some of the electricity we use. It's not going to go on forever, but it's a way of getting our people to do this sort of thing. The turbine wasn't cheap, they're not cheap, but again, because we're a charity, we were able to lock into some of the grants and special offers that were going around, and we actually bought it for half its price. That government paid for half. And there are some grants going, so really we didn't spend too much money putting it up. It does need some maintenance. We need to take it down and oil it and brush it and clean it and look at it, and eventually the actual sails of it, if that's what it's called, the arms of it will wear and we'll have to replace those. So it's not maintenance free, but we hope that for the next sort of, I don't know, 10, 15 years we'll be able to have reasonably cheap electricity and also put some back into the grid. The photovoltaic cells are actually the most efficient. They create electricity all the time the sun's shining. Well, it's still producing a little bit. Outside here, on the right, if you come in and look to your right, or as you go out and look to your left, there's a big LED presentation up there, and it'll tell you what the various bits are producing, the wind turbine and and the photovoltaics. And you'll see the photovoltaics is winning slightly, but there is no maintenance at all. That's going to be there for 25 years. We might have to give them a wash every so often, but the rain does that for us, so we're not doing so bad. So when the sun's shining, we get electricity from the photovoltaics, and when the wind's blowing, as it almost always does in Wolseley, we get some electricity using the wind turbine. And so those two are combined to give us our own electricity, plus we're able to sell some back to the grid. The one you can't see is the heat pump. The heat pump is, I'm not sure he's doing it now because of the temperature, but underneath here we've got underfloor heating. That was put in when the building was designed, but we used to run, and still do to a certain extent, that system on oil. There's an big oil tank as you come in to the property at the end. Given the price of oil, given the price of, and the increasing price of energy generally, we made a decision to put in a heat pump. Outside here, you won't see it because it's underground. There is a big zigzag called a slinky of pipe. It's about 4 or 5 inches thick, and it's about 300 metres. It zigzags all across the back of here, and if you want to care to look, you can see it going into the building. It's just a pipe in and a pipe out. Little temperature sensors that switches it off when the temperature is over 13 degrees. When the temperature drops below that, the heat pump starts. A metre below us, the temperature of the ground is 12 degrees. Now it's 12 degrees in this part of the world. I don't know if it is in other parts, but it's always going to be 12 degrees for a long way down. So there's no need to go too far down. A metre's far enough. So we've got this pipe a metre down. It's full of a liquid which is probably best described as an antifreeze type liquid, which absorbs the heat from the surrounding ground and raises the temperature of that liquid to 12 degrees. Now it's not a lot, so we bring it back into the building. This takes a little bit of electricity to pump it round. Bring it back into the building, push it through a compressor. Compressing that liquid drives its temperature up to 44 degrees, and then we put it through a heat exchanger with ordinary water, which is fed through into the underfloor heating that you see, that we have under here. That allows us to heat the building for practically nothing. There is a little bit of electricity required because the pump and so on, but 1 unit of electricity produces us 4 units of electricity which would have been required to produce the water, so it's very efficient. That's in the back, in the plant room, the actual compressor and stuff. But that gives us our 3 renewable energy resources, which gives this building probably a very low, if not a 0, or even in the future a minus carbon footprint, which we're very, very proud of. That's all I'm going to say about it now. If you want to see the figures are out there. Oh, and further down the corridor, there's some more figures which show that the total, the result of all that is that we are probably not using £15 a day in energy costs. So we're saving energy costs, and of course that's going to get better as energy costs rise. Payback period for all of that is probably 15 years, reducing to about 10 if energy costs continue to rise. I'll take very few questions. Oh, good. That means I've done a good job and explained it all, or you're just sat there.
Stuart, my dear boy, I've known you for a long time, and you're always a very succinct speaker. Haven't anybody asked for any more? Ladies and gentlemen, this man is not just the president of the village hall committee, he's my next door neighbour.
Yes, I know.
And living next door to the CFZ, the man probably deserves a medal. He's not going to get one. But ladies and gentlemen, Stuart Rickard.
Thank you very much. Thank you.